Hello friends! Happy Friday everyone! Today we are joined with Sushi, the zebra. He's very short though, so you're only going to see the top of his head. So I got a request on my last video to do this video, which is just going to be about my experience with anxiety. And I'm going to kind of try and define it and then tell you guys my personal experience and kind of what I found helped me kind of cope and deal with it and kind of not beat it but overcome it a little bit. Yeah, so I hope that this is helpful to a lot of you guys. I know it's I think it's something that a lot more people, I'm sorry, my hair is like huge today. Not really sure what happened. I think it's something that a lot more people struggle with than is realized. Like, I think some people just kind of think that it's part of their personality or just like something that they were born with, and like they don't really realize that it's a actual like disorder. And I definitely didn't know that I had anxiety when it first started, and I actually watched a video like this by Zoella, if you guys know that YouTuber, and that really helped me just to kind of like understand more about it and realize what was happening to me. And yeah, I really found that very helpful. It kind of took a lot of the scariness away from it, which is good. So I'm just going to start with the definition. I am not a doctor or any kind of professional on this, so definitely do your own research as well. I'm just kind of saying some general things about it, but I found this definition on the Webster dictionary. I was going to try and do my own definition, but I didn't want it to be confusing to you guys. So I'm just going to read this and then I will kind of extrapolate on it. So it says anxiety is an abnormal and overwhelming sense of apprehension and fear, often marked by physiological signs, by doubt concerning the reality and nature of the threat, and by self-doubt about one's capacity to cope with it. And some of these symptoms that it's talking about are usually like sweating, increased pulse, quickened breath, things like that. And these are actually brought on by the body's fight or flight mode. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. And it's from, I think, like way back when we used to live more out in nature, and there would actually be threats of like animals and different things like that. And when that threat would come, our body would go into this either fight mode or flight mode. And so it's kind of just our body's way of preparing itself for the danger that it thinks is coming. But obviously this is not a good thing when there is no danger in sight. And that is what happens to people with anxiety. I think there's a lot of different triggers for different people, but whatever is your trigger, it'll kind of set off this fight or flight mode in your brain, and then it starts doing all these symptoms in your body, and that is what can be very scary. I've never had a anxiety attack or panic attack during the day. I'll tell you a bit about mine after, but I have heard that they usually last about 10 minutes. Obviously it depends on the person. And then your body will just kind of calm down and it'll go back to its normal rhythm of things. And there's also a bunch of different types of anxiety disorders. There's the general anxiety disorder, and then there's like panic disorder. I think phobias are also linked to anxiety as well, And those can definitely kind of be coupled with general anxiety, which is kind of what I experience. Once again, I'll tell you that in a minute. I personally think that everyone has a certain level of anxiety, but obviously some people have it a lot more severely. And a very common thing with anxiety is irrational thoughts or fears. But someone with a lower or a very low amount of anxiety can kind of pinpoint these irrational fears in their own mind and correct them before the anxiety kind of takes over and they can't really think straight or differentiate these thoughts from being irrational and not really making sense. I recently did a program that my sister put on called Depression and Anxiety: The Way Out, and this program was created by Dr. Nedley. I'll try and find a link to like a website or something and put it down below, but he talks about irrational thinking and how when we can stop ourselves when we have these thoughts and reconstruct the thought to make more sense and be rational rather than irrational, that can really help us defeat worry and anxiety and a whole bunch of different things. So if you want more information on that, I will try and find a link for you and put it down there. So that's kind of a bit of an overview on anxiety and the different types and the symptoms. Now I'm going to go into my personal experience. So I think I've always had a little bit of anxiety as a child. I was very shy, but it wasn't until about what grade was I? I think I was probably 16. Yeah. I think I was 16, and I had my first panic attack, but it was during the night. So I was at a dance competition, and I was in a hotel with my mom and my stepdad. And before I went to bed, I was feeling really like kind of jittery and like high strung, and I didn't really know. I was like, maybe I'm just nervous because I was competing the next day. So I just went to bed, and then I woke up the middle of the night. It was probably like 1 a.m. or something. And I remember I woke up and I was super hot, I think. I was really hot, and it was like the beginning of spring, so it was still pretty chilly outside. So I like whipped off my covers, and then I was like, I feel so sick. And so I ran to the bathroom, and I was also shaking, like uncontrollably shaking, but I was hot, so it wasn't because I was cold, and I was just so confused. And so I woke my mom up, and I was like, Mom, I think I'm gonna be sick, like I don't know what's going on. I never got sick. I just kind of went to the bathroom, sat there for a while, had a drink, and eventually went back to bed. And yeah, that just really freaked me out. And so then after that, I would kind of go a couple weeks, and then I would have another one. And another thing that I kind of have pinpointed is when I have these panic attacks, I will wake up, and since I'm half asleep, I can't remember in the morning what I was afraid of, but I will wake up terrified that something's wrong, but I can't explain what it is, or if I try and explain what it is to myself, it makes no sense. But I just think to myself, something's wrong, I need to get out of here, and I always run to the bathroom because I feel sick to my stomach. And then once I'm in the bathroom, it kind of like snaps me out of it, and I'm all right again, and like the shaking will kind of slow down. So I had that for probably 6 months. I would have a panic attack at nighttime every couple of weeks. And then eventually it slowed down. But another thing is I've kind of just like figured this out myself, that I think that the bathroom was like my safe place, because I also have a phobia called emetophobia, I think, which is the fear of throwing up or being sick. So I think, and that gives me a lot of anxiety. If I ever feel sick or someone else is sick, I'll like immediately start feeling sick. So I think that that's kind of like meshed together with these panic attacks, and then I would wake up and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be sick, and then that would like heighten the anxiety, and then once I got to the bathroom and I'm like, okay, I'm safe, then it would kind of dissipate, if that is a word. I think it is. So yeah, that was super hard for me because I didn't really understand what it was until, like I said, I watched Zoella's videos and I was like, okay, it's a panic attack. But then I was like, I have no idea why I'm having these panic attacks, because there wasn't really a situation that happened before that triggered it, I don't think. My sister kind of thinks that it might have been around the time where I started freaking out because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life after high school. So that could have maybe contributed to it, but I am not 100% sure. But one thing that I started doing, because I started being afraid to go to sleep, because I would worry that, okay, if I go to sleep, I'm going to wake up in a panic attack, and I hated them so much. So what I would do before bed, I would obviously say my prayers and stuff like that, and then I would always say this verse to myself: I will both lie down in peace and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. And so I would kind of repeat that to myself until I fell asleep. And yeah, that definitely helped me. And then I also ended up, during this period of my life where this was happening, I took to my guitar and I started writing a song. And I really liked the verses that would say, be still, because I just found like such a contrast between when you're in an anxiety attack and God just being like, just be still. And sometimes I would just have to tell myself that when I felt very anxious, either in a panic attack or just during the day. And so I wrote this song called Just Be Still. And sorry, I just need to get a drink. I'm back. So I wrote this song called Just Be Still, and it was from the perspective of me talking about my panic attacks, and then at the chorus, it's God talking to me. I'll just tell you a couple of lyrics. So it starts, and I say, you sing to me through the night, just take a breath, lay down your head, I'll fight the terrors away, and if you wake, I'll keep you safe, oh child, just be still. So once I wrote this song, then I would sing this song to myself in my head before I went to sleep, and that really calmed me down. And another thing about panic attacks that sucks is that the more you think about them, like the more I would worry about it before bed, the more often I would get them during the night, because I don't really know how it works, but your brain is thinking about it, and so it probably heightens your anxiety levels right before you go to sleep. So then during the night it would happen more often. So just singing this to me and saying that verse, I think it would really calm my mind down before bed, and then the panic attacks started getting less and less. And then last summer, in August, so about the same time, when I was planning to go to Australia in September, and I got really nervous because, first of all, I was afraid of having a panic attack on the plane. Like, if I was sleeping, because it's like 20-hour flight, I was like, what if I have a panic attack on the plane? I can't get to the bathroom because it's too far away, or someone's in there. And so that just gave me a lot of worry. And also another thing that I've learned about my anxiety sometimes, that I had a couple times in school, in high school, is I would get like really anxious in situations where I can't escape quickly. So like one of my classes was Comtech, and it was like 3 classrooms in a row, like all with doors joining them. It was just the one classroom, but it was 3 rooms. And the middle room was pretty small. It was like the recording studio type room. And one time we had a meeting in there, and for some reason, I don't know what it was, but something triggered it. And I was standing there and I was kind of like fidgeting, and I was like, I need to get out of this room. And my teacher was talking, and I don't know if it's kind of like a claustrophobia thing. I didn't leave, I stayed there, but that was just really uncomfortable. And I've also noticed, like, in movie theaters, I've gotten a bit better at this now that my anxiety has gone down a bit, but before, in movie theaters, I'd always want to sit on the aisle seat so that I could get out quickly if I needed to. I'm not sure why I would need to, but once again, this is kind of like the irrational fears that I was talking about, or irrational thoughts. It's like you don't need to be on the aisle seat because 95% of the time nothing's going to happen that you're going to have to leave in the middle of the movie. But my mind just goes to, something's going to happen, I need to be prepared, I need to sit on the aisle seat. So that was another thing that scared me about the plane, because you can't get out. But luckily, I didn't have any problems on the plane. And then while I was in Australia, which was for 6 months at the beginning of last year, or September of last year, I think I had maybe 2 panic attacks the whole time in 6 months, and they weren't very severe because at that point I could kind of identify that it was happening while it was happening. So I'd be like, okay, you're having a panic attack, you don't need to go anywhere, just calm down, just sit here and breathe. And then I could kind of talk myself out of it, which is a big improvement from just being like, I need to get out and I don't know what's happening. So yeah, that was really good. And then I can honestly say that from whenever the last one was, which was probably, I don't even know, I'm gonna say January of this year, I have not had a panic attack. That's a really long time. I didn't even think of that. So that's like, that's like 7 months. Yeah. So that's super awesome. And honestly, just from my personal experience, the closer that I have gotten to God and just reading His Word more and being encouraged by other spiritual people in my life, I think that played a huge role in kind of overcoming my panic attacks and my anxiety. I do still have a bit of anxiety just in like everyday things, like in my job sometimes, or just certain random situations. All of a sudden I'll get really anxious and be like, I feel like I need to leave, or I need to kind of just be by myself for a minute. So that's something that I'm still working on, and hopefully I will be able to get past that. But I think it's really important to know that it's not something that you are just destined to always have ruling your life. And you can definitely take steps to get over it, or not get over it, I don't want to say that, but take steps to improve your life in that area and not let it dictate what you're going to do, who you're going to see, or stop you from doing things that you would really like to do if you weren't so anxious or worrying about it. And that's another thing that Zoella said. Sorry, her name's Zoe, but her channel is Zoella. I actually bought this makeup bag from like her beauty collection, and it says, "Just say yes." And she said that she struggled from panic attacks during the day a lot on trains, on planes, at like parties or group gatherings, lots of social events and stuff. And because she's a big YouTuber now, she had to obviously she had to travel, and she said she was missing out so much in her like early 20s on experiences that her friends and her family were having, because she was just so afraid. These irrational thoughts were just taking over her mind, and she also didn't want to go on trains and planes and things where she'd had panic attacks before, because it's kind of like a trigger, because you know that it has caused you to have one before. But she said, she got to a point where she was just tired of missing out on stuff, and so she just said yes to everything. Like any opportunity she had, anything someone invited her to. Obviously, she didn't say yes to things that she really hated or didn't want to do. But if she wanted to do it, but she was scared or anxious about it, she just said yes and just kind of forced herself to try it. And I think that really helped her in defeating some of the triggers, and also probably, I'm just guessing, correcting a lot of these irrational thoughts in her mind. So that is my little spiel on this. I know that people have anxiety disorders way more severe than what I've dealt with, and I'm not trying to make anxiety sound less than it actually is. I know some people have very severe anxiety and they have to go on anti-anxiety pills, and sometimes do talk to a therapist and things like that. So I'm really not trying to make it seem less than it is. This is just my personal experience and how I've kind of learned to cope with it. And I know I am lucky that I have been able to make mine less severe, and I really just hope that if you are struggling with it, that you will seek help, maybe try some things I said, even music as well. I've noticed is a very good thing to just calm your mind if you're in a state of feeling very anxious. And maybe if you can't go to a place by yourself or go to that safe place of yours, just putting in headphones, closing your eyes, and listening to some calming music can help a lot of the time. Or if you do read the Bible and you have a Bible app, maybe listening to audio of the Bible could calm you down. Listen to some Proverbs and different verses like that. I've also noticed that there is a ton of verses in the Bible that talk about anxiety. I haven't written them down, but I will post a bunch of them in the description box if you'd like to read through those. Also, if you wanted to check out my song, maybe it would help you. That would make me so happy if it would help some people. I'll post the link down below for the video. I'm also in the middle of actually recording it. It's like halfway there, so it will eventually be on SoundCloud and maybe Bandcamp or Bandpage. I have one of them, and it really confuses me about the difference, but I'll let you know when that happens. So please don't be afraid to share with me your experience with anxiety. If you don't want to post it in the comments, because obviously that's pretty public, you can message, you can private message me on YouTube, and we can just kind of chat about it, or you could also DM me on Twitter at _his daughter_. I couldn't get the actual name, someone took it, but yeah, please message me about that if you want to just talk to someone about it, or you have any questions about things that I've said in this video. I'd really like to help you, so please message me. And yeah, please give this a thumbs up if it helps you at all, or you were just interested in what anxiety is and you learned something. Definitely give it a big old thumbs up. And please subscribe if you want to be alerted about more videos that I will post. Also, just want to mention, next Tuesday, I'm getting my wisdom teeth out, which I'm really anxious about, so please pray for me about that. But yeah, so I'm not sure, unless I can fit in recording another video before Tuesday. I am going away this weekend though, so it might not be possible. But anyways, I just want to say it might be that I don't post a video next Friday. I will try my best. I might post one where my mouth is just out to here and I look really hilarious, but could be an option. So yeah, just look out for that, and I'm really sorry if I don't end up posting one, but what can you do? Sometimes teeth just gotta be ripped out of your mouth, and that's life. So I'm just gonna close with a verse, and it is Philippians 4:6-7. This is one of my favorites. It says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." Bye!